The old man's jaw dropped in fear, and his eyes widened as he realized it was a ship from the Adrit Bloodstripe family of the Silverstone sector. The powerful spaceship landed near them. The old man recalled that this troublesome race wasn't supposed to arrive until the afternoon. With a cheerful expression, Ching-hee approached the ship, her eyes beginning to shine with surprise as a smile spread across her face. The ship was truly magnificent. As the wind blew, she closed her eyes, extended a hand towards the ship, and with an excited smile, began to record a video mentioning that the ship was almost as large as several of Baihai City's gyms combined. Shortly after, the spaceship's door opened. From it emerged two wolf-like warriors. One wore golden armor and carried a spear as a weapon. The warriors began to observe Ching-hee and the others in silence. Ching-hee's attention was fixed on them, and her eyes began to shine with surprise. They were furries, and she found them very handsome. With a serious gaze, they began to descend from the platform to the ground. Then the attention of the warrior with a scar over his eye was caught by something, and his eyes widened with confusion and curiosity. He didn't know what was going on. Ching-hee moved even closer, and, holding her phone with both hands, began to record. She wanted to film everything. The warrior observed her in silence as it was the first time he had seen someone behave like her. His patience soon ran out, and, clenching his fist tightly, with a furious gaze, he stared at her and asked what she was doing. The warrior and his men surrounded poor Ching-hee. Noticing this, the old man's eyes filled with fear, causing him to panic. This was not good. The young lady's actions were a huge problem. With a furious look, he turned to his men and ordered them to follow him quickly, as this was a major diplomatic incident. His subordinate looked at him with a confused expression and nodded. The warrior and his subordinates began to stare at Ching-hee in silence. Noticing their gazes, all she could do was feel somewhat confused. The wolves raised their heads, closed their eyes, and began to howl, causing a powerful energy to start emerging from their bodies. Ching-hee's eyes, who was still recording everything, widened in surprise and confusion, leaving her in shock. She didn't know what was happening. Not long after, more werewolves emerged from the ship, surrounded Ching-hee, and began to stare at her with piercing glares. Poor Ching-hee placed her hands on her chest and felt scared as she didn't know why everyone was gathering around her. Intuition told Lu Ching-hee that, once again, she seemed to have caused trouble. The leader's eyes began to glow with fury. He extended his hand and declared that she must pay for what she had just done. As a powerful energy surged from his body, the leader prepared his claw to strike. All Ching-hee could do was close her eyes and brace for the worst. Just as the leader was about to attack, the old man came running, extended his hand, and, with a desperate expression, pleaded for him to wait. Hearing the old man's voice, the leader became somewhat curious and confused. While Ching-hee was trembling with fear, clutching her phone, the old man stood in front of her, with his hands outstretched and a serious expression. He begged for her forgiveness. He explained that she didn't know their rules and hadn't acted on purpose, insisting that ignorance was not a sin. Noticing the commotion, Liu Sheng's father and mother panicked and began to running toward them, their eyes filled with worry as they didn't know if something had happened to Ching-hee. The leader calmed down a bit, pointed to himself with a thumb, and with a proud expression, explained that the great wolves of Adrit Bloodstripe never allowed anyone to take their photos. Then he began to stare fixedly at Ching-hee with a furious expression, declaring that this was a profanation and an insult that must be punished. Ching-hee ran to her mother. With a confused gaze, the mother hugged her daughter. The father was even more confused and went into shock as he couldn't believe that taking a photo was so serious. The old man's subordinate approached the father and with a sincere expression began to whisper to him that what the adrit bloodstripe wolf tribe hated most was having their pictures taken, as they stubbornly believed it was an extreme sign of disrespect towards them. The father listened in silence, without interrupting. The subordinate began to recall the wolf tribe massacring people, the ground filled with corpses, and revealed that due to this taboo, the adrit bloodstripe family had clashed with many media outlets and factions, even leading to bloody incidents. With tears in her eyes, Qing-He asked her mother what they were going to do now. With a serene expression, the mother hugged her daughter and told her not to be afraid, as the diplomat was negotiating on their behalf. Meanwhile, the old man and the wolf leader were arguing. The diplomat's mission was to calm the leader down so that he would forgive Qing-He. The elf-eared subordinate extended his hand and spoke frankly. This was terrible. The tribe had said they would wash away the affront with human heads and blood. Something bad was about to happen. Hearing this, Qing-He, her father, her mother, and Snowy couldn't help but feel afraid. The father's face was drenched with sweat, and with a desperate expression, he wondered what they could possibly do now. They had only come as tourists, with no way of knowing the rules of this place. With fear in her eyes, the mother begged the diplomat's subordinate to plead for them. Snowy's eyes began to shine with fear and desperation, as she asked if there wasn't even the slightest room for negotiation. The subordinate held out his hands and, with a calm look, explained that the adrit bloodstripe wolves were incredibly stubborn beast warriors. In this situation, there was no solution unless the council president came in person. They all remained silent, not knowing what would happen next. At that moment, a crack appeared in the sky and slowly began to shatter. Several seconds later, Sebastian, with his arms behind him and his eyes closed, emerged from the crack, and his body began to release a powerful energy. Sebastian walked past the subordinate and, in a calm tone, told him he had done a good job and that he would take it from here. The subordinate's eyes filled with surprise, and with sweat on his face, he awaited the president's orders. Sebastian stood before him, observed him intently, and asked the adrit bloodstripe tribe to stop and listen to him. After pondering for a moment, the leader did not calm down, and with a furious look, declared that even if President Sebastian pleaded, his clan's faith would never bend. Noticing this, Sebastian began to fly towards the leader. Liu Sheng's family remained silent, not knowing what would happen next. Sebastian flew up to the leader's ear and began to whisper, revealing who they really were. The wolf leader's expression changed. His fury vanished, replaced by surprise and fear. He couldn't believe they were the family of the legendary immortal warrior. Without wasting another second, the wolves calmed down and began to howl. Liu Sheng's family fixed their attention on them, and the father's eyes widened in confusion. The arrogant tribe leader and his men knelt like knights before Liu Sheng's family. He placed a hand on his chest, bowed his head to them, and in a sincere tone, apologized for his ignorance and rudeness, begging them to accept the deepest apologies of the adrit bloodstripe clan. Seeing this, Liu Sheng's sister placed her hands on her chest in confusion. She and the others were in shock, as they didn't know why the wolves' attitude had suddenly changed or why they were showing respect. Snowy observed them intently, and a relieved smile spread across her face. She had thought that, with the arrival of the council president, Liu Sheng had mentioned, the matter would be resolved out of consideration for him. However, she didn't expect this, and it made her wonder what status Liu Sheng really held now. Qing Yi approached the leader, and with a nervous expression, asked if she could continue taking their pictures. The leader snapped out of his trance and felt somewhat surprised. His eyes began to shine with joy, and, giving a thumbs up, he nodded with a smile, replying that of course he could. He absolutely should. He stood up as he considered this wasn't enough to express his sincerity. Clenching his fist tightly, He called his men to get in position and strike the scorpion pose. Blushing and a bit confused, Qing Yi took a photo with the leader and his men. The wolves even began to pose with Qing Yi. Noticing this, the diplomat's eyes filled with surprise and his jaw dropped in shock.